$200,000 your first year. Sounds amazing, right? But what if I told you that number doesn't mean what you think? And it's the reason so many bankers feel stuck. Today, we're breaking down the biggest myths of investment banking in 2025, but there's one truth that explains why people stay even when everything else is telling them to quit. I'm Patrick Curtis. I started in investment banking at Rothschild, worked in private equity, and later built Wall Street Oasis to help students like you break into finance. On paper, analysts make around $200,000 in their first year out of school. That sounds life-changing, but here's what I've seen. After rent, taxes, and a lifestyle that comes with no free time, it doesn't feel like real wealth. The real payoff doesn't come until a VP or MD, when compensation can cross the $1 million a year mark. And most don't make it that far. So the question is, if money isn't as life-changing as people think, what actually keeps people in banking? We'll come back to that. Movies like The Wolf of Wall Street love to show yachts and champagne, but ask any analyst, it's Excel, PowerPoint, and late-night client edits. The glamour is different. It's the adrenaline of being tied to billion-dollar deals. In 2023, analysts on the Microsoft Activision merger worth $69 billion weren't making the final calls, but their models were in the room. That exposure is addictive. But adrenaline has also a dark side, and it shows up in the hours. Our own internal surveys still show 75 to 90-hour work weeks at some of the top firms, some weeks even over 100. Compared to a decade ago, things have improved slightly. AI does reduce some of the grunt work, and some firms enforce protected weekends. But when deals go live, balance disappears. So if the money isn't enough and the hours are crushing, who actually survives this career? We'll get there. A lot of students believe only Ivy League math prodigies make it in.
It's my quant.
Your what?
My quantitative. You want a national math competition?
That's just not true. I've seen philosophy majors, athletes, musicians break into top banks. What mattered wasn't perfect grades or even being a genius, it was resilience. One MD recently put it best: I can teach someone Excel in 2 weeks. I can't teach them how to stay calm when a client is furious. So if it's not about genius, how do people actually get in? That's the next myth. Banking looks like a closed club, but I've seen students from non-targets break in by outworking everyone. One of our recent students said over 500 cold emails. From that, he got 60 calls, 9 first-round interviews, 4 super days, and 2 offers. Networking isn't about being connected, it's about persistence. And in 2025, with diversity programs and new recruiting paths, the door is more open than ever, but you still have to push through. But this all still doesn't answer the biggest question. If the money, hours, and glamour aren't what people think, what's the real reason they stay? The biggest myth is that investment banking is about money, prestige, or power. The reality, it's a training ground, a pressure cooker that forces people to grow more in 2 years than most do in 10. And that's the real payoff. That's why people stay. That's why people fight to get in. And if you see banking not as the finish line, but as the launch pad, it can change the entire way you approach this career. So here's the truth in 2025. The money's strong, but it's not freedom. The lifestyle looks glamorous, but it's really just adrenaline. And finally, the hours hurt, but they also shape you. And no, you don't need to be a genius, you need grit. If you understand that, you'll stop chasing these myths and start chasing opportunity. That's where the real payoff is. If you're aiming for a career in high finance, what's driving you more? The money, the challenge, or the launch pad it gives you? Comment below and let's start a real conversation.